What's up, gents? In this video, we're going to be walking through how to use the Close Friends tool and basically everything you need to know about the Close Friends mass adder. You've probably seen a ton of people recently popping up with Close Friends mass adders where they mass add all their following to their close friends so that they are able to sell and make more money. And here's how they do it. They're able to boost their story views by anywhere from 2 to 5x is what we've seen. I actually run the software that a lot of big influencers use. We have a ridiculous amount of follower count that we've been attributed for adding to close friends. So I don't even know a number. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and try to create a number off the top of my head. But we do have a lot of people on our software and a lot of big people, very, very big people and small people too. It works for every size of audience. It's going to increase by a percentage, not by an amount. So yeah, this is kind of how it works. This SOP is how it's built. It's built as an SOP just for reference, right? It's standard operating procedure built to show you all the best practices to use when close friends mass adding. So a few things we're going to be going over. Going over what to look for in a mass adder. We're going to be going over intimacy dilution, organic engagement amplification retargeting. We're also going to be going over like some different story sequences and ways to actually use the close friends to actually maximize it. I, just for reference, do run a close friend software. My goal here is not to sell you on close friend software. My goal here is selfishly to teach you how to use close friends so that it works better so that you continue to pay me. If you do pay me, and if you don't pay me, cool. I want you to continue to work better for you and so we don't dilute the entire market of close friends so that I can continue to sell it. That is my kind of selfish reason for creating this video and why I am giving out all this sauce publicly. So that's kind of what we're going to be going into in here, right? So first of all, let's talk briefly about intimacy dilution, right? A lot of people don't think about this when they're thinking about mass adding. They don't think about this when they're posting to their stories even. But intimacy dilution refers to overusing close friends. There's so many people out here that are overusing close friends, and some people aren't using it at all. Cool, you probably should be, but don't overuse close friends, right? So many people that are doing that. The close friends, the purpose of it is we add everyone to close friends so that when they see a story, yours is the first story that they see. If you're on their close friends list, you're going to have that green circle around your story, and you're also going to get pushed all the way up to the front. So let me find an example just so I can kind of show you. So here's an example of my Instagram account. You can see right here, this circle around my story right now is green because I have a close friend story published to my Instagram, right? So I'm going to show you how to get the same thing and be able to do that for basically everybody. Other thing it does is it's going to push it up in your feed. So if you have that line of different people in your feed, it's going to push it all the way to the front, right? So this is going to walk you through all those things and how to actually do that. But the reason we do it is so we can increase story views. And the way that we do that is by just increasing the total amount of people that see it through A, making it exclusive, having that green circle around it, and then B, also pushing it up to the front so more people actually get to see it, right? I've seen it go anywhere from 2 to even, I've seen upwards of like 8x story views. Depends on the size of your audience, depends on your trust score, depends on a lot of different things on Instagram, but this can easily double your views if you know what you're doing and if you're using it the correct way, as I teach you in this video. So make sure to watch the whole thing. Not like a pitch to watch the whole thing, but make sure to watch the whole thing because there's like hella sauce in here, right? And I'll give you a free gift at the end too if you watch all the way through, just for the hell of it. So when users share too frequently to close friends, right, the posts become like wane, or they can wane, right? And this just basically means that they are not as effective. They are not as valuable. The more scarce something is, the more people want it, right? You go into a Rolls Royce dealer. What are they going to tell you? It's just like a normie. They'll be like, no, you can't have it. That makes you want it more. Why? Because you were told that you can't have it. It is a scarce resource. It is not just abundant. So close friends, you need to treat it the same way, right? If you're posting every story that you make to your close friends, people are just going to be like, oh, this is just like fake. I'm not, they don't care anymore. And transparently, it does hurt a lot when a lot of people are on the software because so many people are using close friends the wrong way. The people that use it the wrong way ruin it for the people who are using it the right way, right? So this is basically going to get rid of that like close-knit community feel. You also lose trust, which never a good thing. There is some risk to that if you do overpost on close friends. So there's 3 main ways to mitigate intimacy dilution, right? And that is 1, to curate your content thoughtfully, which I'm going to show you how to do, and basically make sure that you're not just posting whatever you want to your close friends, and you're actually curating how you do your story sequences and how you do your stories. Number two is going to be avoid overwhelming the audience with your close friends. So don't post on it every single day. Don't post on it too excessively. Don't post every post to your close friends. You can post some, but I'm going to teach you how to do those sequences in a minute, right? And then number three is engaging with them. So things like hyper story viewing and welcome DMs are other tools that we offer in our software, completely automated, to make it seem like you are actually genuinely adding them to your close friends, which is what people want. So that's kind of what we want to do, make it seem a little bit more genuine. We can do that through hyper story viewing and welcome DM. Hyper story viewing, if you don't know what it is, it basically goes out, likes people's stories, votes on their polls. That way when they come back to you, they see, okay, this dude is reputable, let me give him a follow. Whenever they follow, we shoot him a welcome DM. So that's just like the basics of how it works, right? Now, organic engagement amplification retargeting is a method that we have for actually retargeting the audience and getting calls booked in from these close friends, right? At the end of the day, I get that no one cares about story views, they care about booked calls, but this is how we do it right here. This is the exact method. So organic engagement amplification retargeting follows this basically thing here, this like flow chart here. Basically, we're going to make content to your Instagram stories. We're going to publish that content to your target market to get specific viewers and get the right viewers. If you're not getting the right viewers, it's going to like really affect the way you work. It's not about getting a ton of viewers, right? A perfect example is my business partner started an account from scratch. You can look it up on Instagram. It's called Isaiah Truman03. It has like 140 followers, maybe even less than that, and we closed 30K off of it in the first 3 months with it, or in the first like 2 months with the actual account, right? So it's not about how many followers you have at all. It's about the quality of those followers. So from that, these are target niche specific posts. From there, we make CTAs to make people engage, to make people swipe up, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then from there, we'll be able to nurture those leads, get them booked in on calls. We'll also be sending DMs to everyone that engages in the engagement hierarchy, which I'm going to talk about in a second as well. And then also we can book calls from that. So we'll be able to book leads here, we'll be able to book leads here, and then also we'll obviously be able to make money at the end of the day. So the engagement hierarchy is basically the order in which you engage with people, right? You want to start out by engaging with the warmest leads, and these are the leads that are the most engaged. So for instance, on a story, you might start with your leads who actually like swiped upon the story. That's the first people that you start with. Then you move to your lukewarm audience, people who liked the story but didn't actually swipe up or say anything, and that's your lukewarm audience. And then you react to your colder audience. Obviously, they're not cold if they're watching a story. They're all fairly warm. But then you go to your colder audience, which is people who just viewed the story, right? And you use that as your engagement hierarchy. Every person that follows you, I mean, at least if you're a smaller account, you don't do this if you're like a huge account. But, you know, if you're a smaller account or a mid-sized account, be honest with yourself. Say, hey, how many followers am I getting per day? How many likes am I getting per day? We want to be leveraging outbound to those people who are following you. And it's not really outbound. It is hitting up people who are warm. So whenever someone follows you, you should be sending them a DM saying, hey, you know, I appreciate the follow. What inspired the ad, right? Those are the things that we can automate with our welcome DMs as well. But you need to be hitting up everyone who is following you, liking your posts, everything like that, because they are leads. Don't waste leads. And once we get to a point where we are no longer able to do this, we can bring in an appointment setter, and this setter is able to basically systematically DM those leads based on their engagement level and based on the engagement hierarchy. They should be setting the calls for your offer. They should be the ones that are basically taking people through this sequence, sending the DMs, qualifying people, and then eventually booking them on calls and making you money, right? Now, a few different story sequence templates, right? So these are a few things that most people don't actually look at when it comes to the close friends, is actually getting very, very specific on how you're doing your sequences. So there's 4 key elements to most sequences, and that's results, emotion, logic, and urgency and scarcity. The one thing that you'll notice across all of these sequences is close friends is always the last story in the sequence, right? So the reason we want to post in sequences is because we are not always trying to ram everything on one slide. You can post everything on one slide, but you still need a flow for how you do things, right? So these sequences rely on swipe ups. The way that we're actually getting leads from this is through swipe ups. So on my stories, I might say, swipe with the word me if you're interested, and I'll send it over a free guide, or I'll send you over a DM, and we can chat about if you're qualified or not, something like that, right? So swipe up with the word XYZ and put a word in there, whatever word, make sure it's like maximum 6 letters, write it in all caps. And then also another kind of trick is with your brand colors, highlight that. So if your brand colors, if it's a CTA and you're on Instagram, your brand colors. Say your brand colors are purple, just like highlight it in purple. So say swipe up with me, or actually you're not highlighting it in purple, you're changing the text to purple. So like on Instagram, it might be like swipe with the word me, and I'll send you over my free guide or something like this. Obviously it's like white, so not as good, but you get the idea. You don't want to be posting like direct links unless you're promoting a YouTube video. That's the only reason to do that. And if you do that, software called linktw.in that you can use to basically deep link your videos. That'll, instead of opening in that Instagram browser, will actually open externally in the YouTube app for YouTube videos or other cross-promoting social medias. That's the only reason you ever want to put a link though. Otherwise, you're not putting a direct link. You're not putting a calendar page in there. You're putting a DM. And then worst case, you just literally set that DM. If you want people to just like book in on the calendar, set a swipe up that says swipe with the word calendar and I'll send it over to you, or swipe with the word cal and I'll send it over to you. They hit you with that, and then you can set up a ManyChat flow to basically send them that calendar automatically whenever they send that word, right? Now, in theory, you want to be having a DM setter in your DMs, and yes, they are going to be logged into your Instagram account, and yes, that is normal. And yes, before you start complaining, oh, is that safe? Yes, it's safe. It's best practice. It's what everyone does. So yeah, it's a very normal thing. Have a DM setter in your account. Pretty much every big account does it. Do not do duplicate CTAs. So that means when you're posting, I've seen people who will post, I have a Webby coming up, swipe with the word whatever. Then they'll screenshot it and post the exact same story again to their close friends after they post it to their regular story. You don't want to do that because then people are seeing things twice, and repetition creates resistance, right? So clear your stories when you're doing CTAs. That means nothing else should be on your story. So right now, on my story, currently I have a reel sequence or a content sequence. So the way that works, I basically have a close friends, then I have a photo, and then I have another photo, and this is just a basic content sequence. I'm not going to be going over this exact sequence here in this video, but you get the idea, right? I don't have like tons of other stuff on my story. If I had a CTA up, I would take down those photos and I would actually archive those. Don't delete them, but archive them if you are going to do that, or just like wait for them to expire. The better way to do it is just to wait for them to expire. You can also post rage bait or just like engagement things the day before. So one thing that we do for close friends, if we're going to be, or for CTAs, if we know, hey, we post a CTA every Thursday, on Wednesday, we're going to post up a story that's like, should I do X, Y, Z, or did you hit your workout today, or something like that, where they just hit a button, or even like one of them emoji taps where they just tap it to engage with it. This will basically naturally boost, or artificially, boost your story views so that you are able to get more the next day. If the story does good today, it will do better tomorrow, and it'll push to more people tomorrow because it finds that people are more interested in your story right now, right? So that's what you want to do. Also, the more swipe ups you get, typically your CTAs are going to be your highest performing stories. So you want to make sure that you are optimizing your stories for views, and you're going to get more views when you're doing the CTA, right? So a few different sequences. Number one is smooth operator sequence. This is our most basic sequence that we use to launch most offers. This is a CTA. This is a 3-page CTA, and each of these boxes represents a basically post, like a story post. So the way that we do this is we target emotion. This could even be like a result here. So this is some sort of emotion where we say, XYZ got this result, or you're still broke, or something like that, to just make people feel bad about their current situation and want to get to their desire. Then we have some sort of logical post of how our solution is the best way to do it. Our CTA is typically on the bottom of this story. Then, or either on the bottom of this story, or it can be on this story too. Sometimes it's on this story as well. This story is just our urgency and scarcity. I only have 10 slots left. Swipe with the word money, and I'll send you over a invite. Something like that. It's a very, very good urgency and scarcity play on that last story, and that's what we can do with these first two stories to set it up for this story. Now remember, each of these needs to hook and pull. What does that mean? This needs to end off on like a cliffhanger so that they want to read this next one. This one, again, needs to leave off on a cliffhanger so they want to read this next one as well, right? So that's our first type of sequence. Our second type of sequence is our private urgency sequence. So the private urgency sequence is best applied when someone has a much larger following, or not everyone's already added to close friends. So that's mainly what we're using this for. We're going to put some sort of result on the front end, then we'll put a CTA, Then we'll put a urgency CTA as well in the back end. So we'll have one CTA here on the public story. We'll put a regular like 2-page CTA. We're going to put a result, maybe a few testimonials or one testimonial on that first page. Second page is going to be a CTA. And that's just going to be like a typical 1-page CTA that I'll talk through in just a minute. And again, that 1 page should include that emotion, logic, and scarcity on that 1 page. Then the second page is going to be a second page. It's like, hey, we're only doing, we only have 3 more slots left, so swipe with the word money if you're interested. Something like that will go on the close friends. So there is still a level of urgency on this public post, but not as much on the urgency, right? Next sequence we got is the Wes Watson sequence. You've probably seen this. If you follow Wes Watson, you've probably seen this sequence. This is a very, very long sequence. Wes typically posts 5 to 10 student testimonials every single day onto his story, and basically just spams testimonials. And in reality, he has probably a folder on his phone of around 100, 150 testimonials, and he just switches them out every single day. He posts them. But if you actually follow him closely, you'll see that they get repeated very often. You just don't necessarily see that if you're just glancing at it for the first time, right? So he posts up a ton of results, and then he posts an emotional / logic on the close friends, and then an urgency and scarcity on the close friends. Now, Wes doesn't use close friends. He just uses his regular story for this. If I was implementing this, I would recommend having the last 2 pages that are on your close friends be in here. Now, why? Our result posts or our student wins or anything like that always need to be on the public story so that we can add it to our story highlights, right? This is something that a lot of people miss is the story highlights of like student wins. You can't add a close friends, but if they're just glancing at your profile, a lot of people will glance at your profile before they will ever follow you at your story highlights. So you want to always have those student wins public and not on close friends. You can also basically add that in afterwards as well, but always add any sort of result that we post, we always pretty much add it to our story highlights as well, so that it's always archived in there. So if someone clicks on the student wins, they can just like keep tapping through it for a while. So yeah, then we also have our mini Wes Watson sequence. This is our like just single result and then a 1-page CTA on the close friends. You could also combine these as well. So you could have your result post, then have a public CTA, and then an urgency CTA as well. So you have your results similar to this. It's going to be very, very similar to these. But yeah, this is our mini Wes Watson sequence. Then we have our 1-page CTA, which is 3 to 5 lines typically. And this is typically, just 1-page CTA. You've seen it probably 100 times. You can also do a public 1-page CTA and push it to a urgency and scarcity CTA, just similar to this one as well. I like the 1-page CTA most of the time. Probably 60% of the time, I just use like a regular 1-page CTA. It's classic CTA. If you're looking to do XYZ, I'm opening 3 more slots for my one-on-one XYZ mentorship. If you're interested, swipe with the word money. Something like that works very, very well on a 1-page CTA because it's quick. People read it fast, especially on offers that are like TikTok Shop, things like YouTube Shorts, things that are like make money online, BizOp, but not big BizOp, small BizOp, where people are younger and their demographic is younger. Typically, the younger they are, the less friction you want, because younger people typically have a lower tolerance for friction. Now, last up, we have our content CTAs. So our content CTAs is a way that we do CTAs to actually artificially boost Reels views as well. So if you didn't know, Reels views, story views count as Reels views. If you post your Reel to your story, it counts as a view. So we do that. We basically post the Reel to the story, and people will also sometimes go tap into it, watch it a second time. If it's a longer Reel, it also helps because people will go click on the Reel and then watch the rest of the Reel, and then they'll rewatch it, so your watch time is like amazing. But these are typically like 2 types of content CTAs that we do. We do have a simple content CTA and a complex content CTA. So number 1 is our simple content CTA, and that's this first one here. Simply repost it to close friends, and that Reel has a ManyChat sequence. And then our more complicated one is we do our complex content CTA. We repost, again, push it to a ManyChat sequence. We post this on the public story, and then we have a close friend story after. And we always want the close friends to be last, because if someone looks at one of our stories and not the other one, they'll always see, if they look at this story but they didn't see this story because they looked in between the time that this one and this one was posted. Well, now it's just on the regular story if we just post this to the regular story. So we want this to be on close friends. Always have the last story on close friends. Now, setting up your close friends. So a few different things here for setup. Number one, limit your batch size. I don't like to go over typically like 20 to 25 at once. I've seen people do upwards of 50 without detection, but you always want to add in intervals. So at maximum, I do 50 every 2 minutes, 25 every minute. We typically run everything. If we're running at a higher speed, we'll run around 25 a minute. And then we'll also add in like activity time settings as well. This basically means that we're adding in settings to where you're not going to get action blocked because it's not running 24/7, right? Proxies as well. You got to have mobile proxies. Super, super important. If you're trying to do this manually or have a VA do it, you're just not going to be able to do it as effectively without mobile proxies. Mobile proxies are super, super important. You don't want to log in from a computer proxy. You need to log in from mobile, meaning that your software that you use, if it's a Chrome extension, you will get action blocked for it most likely. I've seen it happen time and time again. You need preferably a 4G mobile proxy, and preferably you're using an iOS or Android emulator, right? It's going to be super, super important to have an emulator plus a proxy. That's what we use for all of our softwares. So I'd highly recommend it. Android is going to be safer. You need that proxy to also be in your location. So if you have an Indian proxy or a Russian proxy and you're located in the US, you're going to get flagged as spam. You want that proxy to be as close to your current location as possible, preferably in the same time zone as you. It doesn't have to be. You can buy proxies at proxy6.net, or you can just come to our software and we'll buy the proxy for you and set everything up done for you. So yeah, if you want to check us out, also, if you're looking to do hyper story viewing or welcome DMs, go ahead and go to socialclimb.pro. And this is a very nice looking website, but you can just come down here and either book a call or honestly, just text me. I'll leave my number here as well. I'll leave my number in the description, but my number is +1 704 998 8564. This is my personal cell phone number, so feel free to shoot me a text or shoot me a WhatsApp message and we can kind of get you set up. So let me know if you have any questions and I will see you later. Peace.